Hello again and welcome to the Maxine Inspector for doing development on the Maxine Research Virtual Machine. We're going to look in this segment at one of the lowest level details you can see using the Maxine Inspector, and that's inspecting memory. So in our session here we can go to the memory menu and bring down a menu item to say, let's look at some memory, and I can fill in an address. Let's say I have an address of something where I think there's an object but I'm not really sure what's going on. So I might paste in the actual address of the object, and now I inspect it, and what I'm going to see is a very flexible, very low level memory inspector, and you'll see that it says I can look at bytes in various size groups. So here we are looking at them as 8 bytes, but let's change that. Let's change it down to 1 byte per group, and maybe let's put 8 on a line and see what we get. Okay. So again, a different layout of the bytes. You can look at them in any groups, any number of per line that you want. In the case of 1 byte, notice it actually gives you a character interpretation. In case that's character data, if you specify 2, you'll actually see something pretty interesting, which is possible Unicode interpretations. So this is our lowest level memory inspector that we can rely on no matter what else is going on. An important feature of the inspector is when it comes to memory addresses, it goes off and it looks in the memory of the virtual machine and empirically discovers what each word points to. If it points to something important, it actually does that and discovers that. You'll see here this particular address is colored in green. That means that it has discovered it actually points to an object in the heap. We can bring up a menu on that then that will give us some possible things we can do with that, including inspect the object with a high-level object inspector, which we'll see later. Some of the information about that object is also available in a rollover. So if you hover over the address, you'll see a summary information about that particular object that's pointed to by that address. So anytime you see an address that turns out to be a legitimate address in the Maxine Inspector, it will have that behavior. Sometimes you know that you want to look at memory purely as words. We have another memory inspector specialized just for that. So we'll go back up to the memory menu and say memory words at a particular address, and once again I'm going to paste in an address that I'm interested in, and we'll see what we come up with. And here is a somewhat different view. This time it's all about words, but there's additional navigational features available. You can actually scroll up and down around the point of origin. This is very useful if you're looking at object layouts. Also, you'll notice on the right the words are interpreted, as I mentioned before, when a word is discovered to point to an object in the heap, and if you roll over you'll see some summary information about the object to which that points. This particular view also empirically discovers if there are any registers currently pointing at this memory and address, and it makes an annotation to that effect as well. So those are the lowest level features. In subsequent segments you'll see how we interpret higher level objects and code in the Maxine Inspector.